Now, we are going to open our roundtable right now, and I would like to welcome you to this roundtable on R290 air conditioners. And let me just introduce the topic of our roundtable today. So the aim for us is to openly discuss how we can accelerate the global supply chain for green split air conditioners. And we want to get a clearer understanding of the remaining challenges, but also, of course, of the progress that's already underway. And for this, we have invited different stakeholders to join us on our interactive dialogue on our two key perspectives. The first is cooperation and contributions to scaling green AC deployment. And the second is market, policy, technology, and financing perspectives. And before we begin, let me just give you a short note on the format. So in the first part of this session, I will guide the conversation and address questions directly to our speakers. And in the following Q&A session, we will open the floor to you, dear participants, to ask your questions directly, as you've done so using the chat or entering our virtual stage. So you may want to hold back your questions for a little moment, because maybe some of them are already being addressed in the conversation during our discussion. And of course, after that, we are very happy to hear your comments and your questions. It is now my great pleasure to welcome our distinguished roundtable participants, and we are very grateful that they are joining us today to share their perspectives. So please welcome on the virtual stage Li Tianyan, who is the Senior Program Manager at the Foreign Environmental Cooperation Center under the Ministry of Ecology and Environment, known as FECO. Mr. Dou Yanwei, he is Deputy Secretary General from China Household Electrical Appliance Association, CHEAA. Welcome Marco Ferdinandi from Mitsubishi Aircon. He's the Marketing Director. Welcome. We have Manuel Seethaler from Midea. He is Head of Public Relationships and he's responsible for product strategy and consumer research. And please welcome Mr. Wang Fei from CHEAA, who is the Head of the Performance Research Institute at CHEAA. And Mr. Wang Fei will be translated by Liu Chengwen from CHEAA. And I'm really, really happy to have you with us today. And I would just like to give the floor to all of you and just say a little hello to our roundtable. So maybe we can start with you, Li. Just check your mic and say hello.
Hello. Hello. Good afternoon. My name is Xiaoyan. I'm from FECO. Thank you, Julika, for inviting me to this Great Cooling Summit.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Let's move on with you, Marco Ferdinandi. Hello.
Thank you for the last introduction. Yes, I look after Mitsubishi Electric in Southern Africa, and I'm also the chairman of the South African Suppliers Association. Good to be with you.
Thank you so much. Welcome, Manuel Seethaler.
Yes, hello everyone. I hope my mic is also working fine. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, good night. I don't know wherever you are. My name is Manuel. I'm working for Midea. I'm based in the research center in Stuttgart, Germany. And also I'm very happy and honored to be here, part of this discussion today. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome, Dou Yanwei.
Thank you very much. Good morning or afternoon to everybody. My name is Dou Yanwei. I'm from China Household Electrical Appliance Association. I'm very honored and pleasure to be invited to participate in this summit. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Let's move on to CHEAA. Mr. Wang Fei, welcome.
Wang Fei, nice to meet you. It's my great honor to have the opportunity to attend today's conference and discuss matters related to I-290 air conditioner with everyone. I'm from China and in the R&D department of higher air conditioner. Thank you.
Thank you. So, Mr. Wang Fei, would it be possible to see you? Sometimes if the connection is not as good, the video is not being transmitted, but maybe if you have the chance to set your camera, that would be much appreciated. But of course, it's more important to hear you than to see you. And yes, we did hear you perfectly fine. All right, welcome everybody once again. And we are just going to jump in with our first round of questions directed to you. So I am going to ask you 2 questions. Okay, and then I would like to start with the first round, giving the word to each and one of you to answer the same 2 questions, which I'm going to let you know right now. So the first question would be, what coordinated actions should FECO, CHEAA, enterprises and importers take to remove policy barriers and strengthen standards and expand training and partnerships to, of course, accelerate the global adoption of R290 ACs? And I would really like for you to tell me what are the 3 most urgent actions each stakeholder group should take to drive the uptake of R290 split ACs, and if possible, particularly in the global south. So with this set of questions, I would like to give the word to you, Li from FECO.
Thank you, Julika, and thank you again for having me. As some speakers mentioned, that China has produced more than 10 million units of R290 and installed about 800 split units in China. So at this stage, I think it's very important to accelerate the global adoption of R290 with international partners and with our partner countries from Africa. To accelerating the global adoption of R290, I think it requires coordinated action among governments, industrial associations, manufacturers, and other market actors. I would like to highlight 3 priorities. First, I think for the government, it's very important to create a strong and predictable policy framework. So I think government should set a clear and long-term HFC phase-down schedule aligned with the Kigali Amendment. And also we should have ambitious policy regarding energy efficiency standard and policies to encourage green procurement and consumption. So China has adopted the national program 2026 to 2030, and we have limitations of high GWP HFCs for domestic refrigerators and also room air conditioners. And also China has included the high GWP non-CO2 HFCs in the NDC. So these are all the very clear policy signals. And secondly, I like to say that strengthen and harmonize standards is very important. So one of the major barriers today for natural reference is the consistency of safety standards and the certification systems. Some countries adopted the IEC standard, which has limitation for R290, and some others countries have not used these standards, so they have a different limitation of R290. So to accelerate adoption, we need stronger international cooperation to harmonize the standards and improve certification system. This will facilitate trade, reduce certification costs, and improve market access for the developing countries. And thirdly, I think expanding training and the servicing capacity is very important. R290 adoption depends not only on manufacturing capacity, it's also on safe installation and servicing. We must scale targeted training programs for technicians, installers, service teams, custom officers, and safety regulators, including practical manual on handling, installation, and emergency response to R290 units. So some Chinese suppliers has established a comprehensive training system through 10 years of practical installation and servicing experiences. So we are ready to share these experiences and curriculum and conduct joint program via South-South cooperation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you for highlighting your three main actions. And when I understood you correctly, you pointed out the strong policy framework aligned with the Kigali Amendment and the stronger international cooperation, as well as the trainings needed. Thank you very much for that. And so let me direct the same set of questions to you, Mr. Dou Yanwei from CHEAA. So what are the coordinated actions that these stakeholders should take, and what are, in your opinion, the three most urgent actions?
Thank you for your question. I think, personally, it's a good question. I worked for promoting R290 refrigerant in room air conditioner sector nearly 20 years in China. I usually think about what should be key actions to accelerate the adoption of R290 refrigerant in room air conditioner sector. Everybody knows that it's environmentally friendly and good performance in air conditioner product for 290. But however, why it's so difficult to promote the use of it in room air conditioner product in China and also in the world? Personally, I think I agree with Ms. Li's opinion. I think it's very important to establish the clear and strict policy signal for the industry. Similar like the EU F-gas directives, it gives the industry the long-term goals and also the forbidden measures in the short term. Minority people will care about the limit use after 20 years, and most of people will consider about the actions this year or next year. This means that we should tell the industry what is forbidden in recent year and the future. I think the next step is tell the industry what they can do. It means we should recommend the alternative technology which is suitable for the long-term development of the industry and also friendly to the environment. It should be not okay to recommend HFC with high GWP to the industry at this stage. The third, I think, is that we should help the industry to know how to properly use this alternative technology. The government and the industry should develop some basic studies on using these alternatives. It will help the company to deal with some basic problems to use the technology. For example, the flammability. To deal with the flammability, we should develop some risk assessment research and also R&D on key components and so on. This is my personally opinion. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for your opinion based on all the years of experience thinking about the question why it is so difficult to promote, for example, R290. And thank you for pointing out that, yes, strict policy regulations for industry are needed and that you would suggest to recommend alternative technologies, right? And that's not okay to recommend HFCs any longer. And then it would be of help to really explain and do studies, basic studies on how to properly use these. So thank you very much. And I'm really interested in learning about your opinion, Manuel Seethaler. So let us take a look what your answers to our two questions are.
Yeah, so your first question was about how we can accelerate the global adoption of R290 AC. So here I can only second my two previous speakers. So I think first and foremost, the global adoption of similar regulations is very important because the regulation here, they are both enabler and barrier. So no matter how it can be pro and con for the deployment of R290 ACs. And here is also important that the different actors, the state actors and the associations, they always use us as a manufacturer as a counterpart, involve us in the discussion, because we have the experience, we can tell them what is possible technologically speaking, so we can be like a sparring partner in this kind of discussion. So we can only welcome everybody to open this discussion. Also, we think engage like developing countries, they can learn from more mature markets in regards of green AC, where there is already a good set of regulatory principles available, because from experience we know this is a very long process and it takes quite some time. A good point here was already made by my previous speakers about the FCAS regulation. So here you can see that actually in the industry there was a lot of fighting against it and also a lot of criticism about it. But in the end, it gave a clear signal and also a clear guideline. And as a manufacturers, that's actually what we need. I mean, we can deal with prohibitions, we can deal with phase outs if there's a clear guideline, because then we know what's happening. What's really not helpful is something that, is happening very spontaneously and some bans come overnight. This is not really helpful. So this is the first part. So policy is really here a key in deployment of R290 ACs. And then I think the know-how sharing is also very important. So not only talking about policy, but of course the training centers were already mentioned. And I think it's very important to show positive use cases, like examples of countries where R290 is used in a good way, where we have the real life data, where we can show we have the numbers, we have 0 incidents, but we have high deployment of AC units. This is much more creating trust than showing some nice presentation or some nice image videos. So it's about real life applications, right? And in the end, we need to educate not only the end users, but also the installers. So the installers have to become our advocates. They have to know R290, they have to love it like we do, and then they become the advocate for us. And all this should help in creating like a real market development. This we can only do together, because honestly speaking, of course, everybody knows R290 units are a little bit more expensive currently, because you have more investment in production lines, you have more investment in R&D, you have some additional cost in the devices. So we can only set this off by having bigger markets, more volumes. As a manufacturers, I can be very clear about that. So we also depend on the state actors, for example, to create such kind of market conditions that allows us to have more volume business. So we can only do this together. So this is for your first question about the global adoption. If we think about what kind of actions we should do, I mean, we talked already about the standards. I think this is the basis for everything, that there is a clear policy, there's some clear standards for us to deal with also as manufacturers. And then for us also as a manufacturer, get in contact with the local industry associations to build this kind of market readiness and to kind of build this trust for our products and for R290. I think this is very important. Of course, I mentioned financial incentives. This should be seen as something in the beginning, because for every new technology, there is a bigger cost in the beginning. So there we can only call on the enterprises, on the NGOs, on the government side to help with some either demand side incentives. So it could be some subsidies for consumers. It could also be some tax deductions for R290 production. Green procurement subsidies and public tenders can also be an option. In the end, it should just help to create some demand in the beginning, because once you have this initial demand and you have this initial volume, then the manufacturing will follow by itself and we can bring down the cost per unit. And I think that's what it's about. And then finally, from our side as well, as a third step, I think we need to extend the supply chains and upgrade the production lines. Also to bring down the cost, and of course in the long run we have to look at the localization of the production and the whole supply chain. So I mean not only the production itself, but if we talk about R290, this involves everything from logistics, warehouses, recycling of the units. So we have to look at this whole value chain and make it as local as possible in the long run. So not having this directly export business only, but really have a sustainable value chain that also is really sustainable in the local markets. Yes, so these are my 3 actions and my understanding of how we can create a bigger adoption of R290.
Yes, thank you very much, Manuel Seethaler, coming from the manufacturer's side. And yeah, for pointing out that, of course, for you, clear guidance for bans and regulations is needed so you can deal with the phase out if it is timely and clearly communicated. Thank you for that. And yeah, thank you for pointing out the know-how sharing and that this is important. And thank you for introducing us to the positive use cases in that regard. And of course, you mentioned the incentives to help, on the one hand, the create the demand, and on the other hand, reduce the costs. And of course, the supply chain or sustainable value chain to keep it as local as possible would be of use. And last but not least, thank you, and I really want to highlight that you offered the manufacturer's side to be a counterpart, a sparring partner. Okay, thank you very much. And I would now like to give the question to CHEAA, to Mr. Wang Fei, who will be translated by Mr. Dou Yanwei. Wait, we have to unmute you. I'm so sorry. This was on our side.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you for your invention. CHEAA should fully optimize the core safety and structural design of R290 split type air conditioners by strictly limiting and precisely controlling refrigerant charge volume, especially tailoring core components and overall unit performance to suit the extreme high temperature and harsh climatic conditions prevalent across the global south, and equipping each unit with professionally leakage monitoring and protective devices to fully comply with unified international and local safety certification standards. Meanwhile, CHEAA will comprehensively upgrade its dedicated flexible intelligent production lines to realize standardized high scale and low cost mass production. Yes, and effectively stabilizing sufficient and continuous product supply to meet the fast-growing market demand in global north regions. Furthermore, HEAA will effectively promote and deliver complete and standard installation and professionally maintenance technical solutions, organize regular localized hands-on safety operation and after-sales skill training for local partners and technicians, so as to perfect the professional after-sales service guarantee system and support long-term popularization and stable promotion of eco-friendly R290 air conditioners worldwide. Thank you.
Thank you very much for making your points. And let me just quickly jump to the chat, because I see that we already do have questions in the chat. So we will have some more questions coming from me directly. But while I'm doing so, please remember, if you see a question that I should ask our roundtable participants, highlight the question by giving a thumb up. And then after our first rounds of roundtable, I will then pick out the questions with the most thumbs up, and I will also invite you to enter the virtual stage. And with that, let me give the same question to you, Marco Ferdinandi. So coming from your perspective, I would be interested in hearing your answers to our first two questions.
Thanks, Julika. I want to try and not repeat what everybody else has said, because being at the end of it, and I think it's all pretty aligned with what most of the stakeholders and the participants have mentioned. Obviously, harmonizing of the standards is a very important part in the regulations. We need to make sure that there's a clear pathway, that those standards are in line with the easy application process, because we must remember that we have unfortunate bureaucracies that can make things go a little bit slower. So that's obviously a very important area. And then we need to have clear and definitive discussions with our regulatory bodies within all the sales regions to try and fast track the process, because obviously there's a huge benefit with distributing and marketing R290. Obviously there's a good reason globally for that to happen. We need to get the buy-in from those regulatory authorities, and that can be a challenge in itself, as I'm sure every one of us knows. And then once we have that pathway that's open and clear into each and every different market, we need to make sure that we have the training and safety capacity in place, because R290 has got certain limitations that need to be taken seriously. There was a little bit of a panic when we introduced R32 into the market with its very high potential flammable properties. I think R290 is a completely different prospect, as we all can agree. And the other very important part that I think that needs to be discussed is the public-private partnership. Together with all the wholesalers and manufacturers within each region, there needs to be a direct engagement with government and to get government support. I think that's quite important. So that's the one. And then the final one is obviously the supply chain development and localization of product is quite important, so that there's access to all markets that are wanting to take up the R290 offer. So without going into too much detail, I just covered those areas. I think we can carry on from there.
Yeah, thank you very much. And yes, mentioning the unfortunate bureaucracies, having to keep that in mind, and that the discussion with the regulatory bodies is needed to get their buy-in. Yeah, and thank you as well for mentioning that, of course, there need to be safety measures in place to really react to the panic, right? And that the government support is important, and for highlighting again the localization of the supply chain. And yes, I totally agree that with that we have a good start for our roundtable. And I would like to direct another set of questions to you. And again, start with you, Lee, from FECO. So the question would be, how can governments, such as FECO, industry association, such as CHEAA, manufacturers, such as, for example, Midea and CHEAA, and importers, consumers, work together to assess demand, scale production, and strengthen the supply chains for R290 green ACs? And please make it concrete and talk to us about the measures that are needed to reduce costs, improve technology performance, and ensure competitive pricing and strong real-world energy efficiency in key global South markets. Lee, I would like to start with you.
Thank you. So from our perspective, scaling up R290 green AC, in China, we also encourage the fluorine-free AC, which requires strong coordination between governments, industry, and the market. So I think for the government, we need to create demand and send market signals. Government can support deployment through green procurement policies, update the energy efficiency standard. We can also consider to include carbon footprint into the energy efficiency standard, which is China is doing now. And then we can encourage green consumption and also support for green financing. I think stable and consistent policy signals are very important for the manufacturers to scale up production and to improve their toward R290. And secondly, I think the industry still need to invest in the R290 through innovation to further reducing the cost. So China's experience show that continuous R&D is critical. Today, when we talk about 10 years ago, the cost gap between R290 and R32 is about 20%. And today, the cost difference between R290 and R32 in China has already been reduced significantly. As global deployment expands, economy of scales will further reduce manufacturing and the supply chain cost. At the same time, I think the manufacturers should continue improving like the compressors to make it smaller and higher efficiency. And for heat exchangers, let's see, to reduce charge amount and improve efficiency. And also today, all the ACs should be integrated with smart control and energy efficiency systems to further enhance the real-world energy performance, especially in the high ambient African region. And the third, I think it's important to build a complete market ecosystem with strong servicing networks, with technician training, and with reliable supply chain. At this time, I think the biggest challenge China is still facing is the customer education and awareness. I think the customer needs to understand that sustainable cooling products provide long-term value through energy saving and environmental benefits, not only the upfront cost. Let's see if we compare R290 to HFC-based ACs. The end-of-life disposal cost is reduced actually. So in many cases, the barrier now is no longer technology readiness. It is the market readiness. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much mentioning the market readiness and the customer awareness. Thank you very much. And now I would like to direct the same question of how the different stakeholders can work together to assess the demand, scale production, and strengthen the supply chain. To hand over the question to you, Mr. Dou Yanwei, and please let us know, coming from your perspective, what measures are needed to reduce costs and improve technology performance, and as well ensure competitive pricing and strong real-world energy efficiency in key global South markets.
Okay, thank you. I remember since around 2008, China room air conditioner sector cooperated with the related parties, including the FECO of China, UNIDO, GCS, UNEP, and UNDP. We have developed some activities to promote using R219 split type air conditioner in China, such as the R&D, the risk assessment, design, demonstration project, or the manufacturing production line conversion, and so on. Until now, as the biggest production base of room air conditioner in the world, China sector, I think we have established the production capacity for room air conditioner using R219 by the support from the multilateral fund and also the related parties. According to the demand from the market, we installed around 10 million room air conditioner using R219, and 800,000 of them are split type room air conditioner product. Regarding to the market of 219 room air conditioner, I think it seems like the story of chicken and eggs. Now the cost of room air conditioner using 219 is higher than the product with HFC 32. Safety measures of product is one of the reasons caused the higher cost. Personally, I think the key reason is the small size of the market of 219 room air conditioner product. The related components are specially supplied for 219 air conditioner with so small production volume. You may know that HFC 32 is the key refrigerant used in the room air conditioner sector in the world. The production volume of air conditioner using HFC 32 is more than 100 million units, and the volume of 219 air conditioner is around several millions units. So the cost of the components of HFC 32 room air conditioner and the hydrocarbon is totally different, and also the gap is very big. For the environmentally friendly technology, it's usually needed the measures to overcome the bottleneck at the beginning stage, I think. Because we cannot only rely on the company, the manufacturer, they do the business, they struggle for the benefit of the product. So they do not have the motivation to use the environmental friendly technology, but with higher cost. So I think some measures may be needed to promote the market of 219 air conditioner, such as the subsidy to offset the cost difference between 219 and the HFC refrigerant, and also the policy incentive to conduct the commercialization of 219 air conditioner is also needed, such as some the energy efficiency standard or some also other incentive policies can give the motivation to use 219 refrigerant in the room air conditioner sector. So this is my personal opinion. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for adding the issue of the different costs and the gap existing for the different components needed. Thank you very much. What is your answer, Manuel Seethaler?
Yeah, sorry, I was still muted. Thank you very much. So I would first like to answer your first question. It was about how can we assess actually the demand, which is then the basis for all our other decisions. So I think there we currently have still quite a disadvantage, especially when we talk about emerging markets, because we don't really know the market sizes and what are the consumers expecting, who are the main players in the market. So I think it would be very beneficial, maybe also with the other involved stakeholders, to really map out the market sizes in emerging countries, who are the key players, what are the like the drivers in these markets. This is something we should all maybe put more focus on and investigate in the future. So we don't know. We know about the fears of the installers, for example, because about the flammability, but how many percentage is there? How many percentage know about R290? What can we do to kind of reduce this kind of fears, right? What about the end user size? How many people know about R290? I can tell from Europe, nearly nobody of the end users cares actually about the refrigerant inside. They don't know what it is, right? There are some, it's getting more and more because everybody's trying to educate also about this topic. But I would still say the biggest share of end users do not know about refrigerants and what kind of refrigerant they have at their home and how bad it can be for the environment. So this is something we should try to map out. Also understanding who is the key decision maker in this process. So again, in Europe, for example, the installer is the main factor here, because when he goes to somebody's home, he will tell the people this kind of units I can recommend. Then maybe he has 2 or 3 brands in his portfolio, and then the end users will go with that. Question is, will the installer talk about the refrigerant in that matter? So this is something we should also better understand in different markets. What is the situation? Is the installer the key factor? Maybe it's another project owner. So then we as a manufacturer can better address these kind of issues, right? And then for us, I think that's also some homework we have to do, is to become more localized. So as Mr. Dou just mentioned very correctly, for the manufacturers, of course, it's about economies of scale. So we can only set off the cost if we get big volumes. That is why currently we mostly have the smaller capacities available, which are also present in China and the European market, which are 9K and 12K BTU, while, for example, we know that in some emerging countries, there's always the demand for bigger units, right? We're also working on it and we will have that available. But then again, these are much smaller capacities, as much smaller volumes that are demanded. And then again, it's the challenge for the manufacturer. How can we offset this cost for producing bigger units, right? So we must find a way that, and also maybe finding out in the local market requirement, maybe sometimes it's also possible to use the smaller models because they can be with less cost produced. So this is our homework we have to do. And as I mentioned already before, I think create this kind of awareness, not only in end user side, but also installer side about the benefits of R290. I think in Europe, we already did quite some good work in that, but it takes a long time. It's similar to the discussion from changing, for example, gas boiler to heat pumps. So there's always some resistance. There is always some lobbyism that is against it. So with R290, it's the same. I think it was also mentioned in the discussion this morning. It just takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of effort to do that. But I think all of us, we know that it's worthwhile to do that, but we have to be in this process and also to clear some rumors about it and to really make everybody understand what are the benefits of R290, while at the same time being realistic and honest about the potential risk or the potential downsides, which is, for example, the bigger cost that these kind of units can have. Then for your second question, how can we be more, maybe better technological-wise speaking, performance point of view? So it's true that currently R290 production is still more expensive because everything has to be spark proof and explosion proof. So this is for the production line. But also there are some other things to be considered when producing R290 AC, for example. It is about that the specific volumetric cooling capacity of R290 is lower than R32, meaning which the units have now. We have a bigger heat exchanger. We need the smaller diameter in the copper pipes, for example. So these are all some things that result in a bigger cost of the unit at the moment. And we can only offset that with bigger production capacities. But I think it's very important to stress that we still have to think about what a AC in general is as a package to the consumer. So we should not fall in the trap and just say, okay, this unit is good because it runs with R290. But at the same time, we have to use the best high efficiency compressors, which we are doing now, and say, okay, this unit, apart from having R290, is actually super efficient for you, right? For the end user and for the installer. And it has this and that kind of advantages, this kind of features, which can be different according to different markets. But I think it's very important not only to say it has this different refrigerant, that is why it's good. Because like I mentioned, maybe for some people, this doesn't mean anything, right? It should really showcase this is good for you. It does great cooling, has great cooling capacity, and the efficiency is great. And then I think also in our portfolio, we must be kind of flexible. Maybe not always it is necessary to have the A triple plus energy efficiency when the unit costs, I don't know, 30, 40% more. Maybe in some emerging markets, we can also talk about A plus. It's enough for this use case when we are able to exchange one old, I don't know, R22 unit, then this would already make me feel much better. So maybe we do not always have to go for the biggest price, but we have to be realistic because we also have to talk about affordability, right? So we cannot always expect everybody to use the very best benchmark product, but really use something that can improve their life and that is really like realistic and feasible for them. Yes. So it's thinking about the whole package. R290 is part of this discussion, but really having this kind of products that people use and people love, and that makes their life better in the end.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. So I saw Haya agreeing. So what is your answer to these questions from Haya? Wait, you have to.
Can you hear me?
Yes, perfect.
Thank you. I will closely cooperate with relevant governments, industry associations, and local importers to accelerate assess the market demand for R290 eco-friendly air conditioners across the global south through big data analysis and market research. And it will actively advance localized component matching and localization of key parts procurement, while building resilient regional supply chains to shorten delivery cycles and reduce logistics risks. Meanwhile, HEAA will effectively cut manufacturing costs by adopting modular design, standard components, and large-scale mass production. It will continuously optimize high temperature adapt core technologies to improve real-world energy efficiency and has tropical working conditions. The company will also align and unify global and local safety standards to multiple stakeholders, launch affordable and cost-effective R290 models tailored to local consumption levels, and strengthen local after-sales service networks and technical support so as to ensure strong price competitiveness and reliable, stable product supply in key global source markets. That's our opinion. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And thank you for adding your opinion to our round table. So let's see what you, Marco Ferdinandi, as again the last of this round, would like to add to these questions.
Thanks, Manuel. I think you added a very nice perspective to the whole picture. I think it is important that I hope everybody listened to Manuel, because that's exactly where we're at. We have and to add on to a different perspective, I think the timing is a problem. And I'll tell you why I say timing is a problem. Is that we've just removed we're busy removing R410A from the market. We are transitioning to R32. That means equipment needs to be bought. It needs gauges need to be bought. There's a whole new education process that needs to take place. There's costs involved. So right now, in the southern parts of South Africa or Africa, the SADC countries, we've got technicians in an environment where they've got 2 sets of gauges, 2 sets of bottles, 2 sets of technology that they have to consider. Now we're going to throw in a third refrigerant into the mix. It's the problem we're going to have now. We're going to have a technician with 3 sets of gauges, has to change his mindset between 3 different types of refrigerants. We understand the power of R290 as far as global warming or climate change is concerned, and how important it is. But at the end of the day, in SADC countries, there's a fight for survival. We haven't got the privilege of the European market where we can make discerning decisions. It's a decision that's made purely on a cost basis. So that to me is one of the biggest actions, is that education process. In between us as manufacturers and importers, we have an installer that will connect us to the consumer. And contracting companies, I would imagine they are the fundamental part of this whole puzzle. We need to educate them. We need to get their buy-in on the importance of this initiative. They need to understand the benefits of it, because they've got to sell it on to their customers. So that to me is one of the urgent actions that's required. We need to go on a very strong education campaign. We need to draw in some very important stakeholders, the people with the hands and the tools that are going to be working with the product every single day. We need to find a solution for them to divorce themselves from the R410 and R32 mindset and now look at a new process. So that's going to be, I find that one of the most important challenges, actions that we need to do is we need to up the education process. How we do that was going to require quite a big investment going forward. So that's just the one part that I would like to add. And I know I answered the second part of the question, which is particularly in the global south. But and I think the other members in the panel addressed the first section quite nicely.
Yeah, thank you very much. Let me just ask a follow-up question, because you already talked about educating the consumer, right? And divorce is hard, letting go is hard. So thank you for making that perfectly clear. I just want to shed light, because given your knowledge of the market, what support or conditions are needed from the importer side to successfully introduce R290 air conditioners?
We need to find a way to make their lives easier. You must remember that in the southern parts of Africa, it's very, very informal. The installation is done in an informal manner. Their technical skills base is very low. They learn on a daily basis from the person that has the know-how. So that skill set is learned live. Very, very few installers. The consumer, for me, the consumer is not the problem. If a person's in a position to buy an air conditioning system for the home, there's a reasonable amount of understanding, I think, of what they're buying. I agree with what Manuel says, that a lot of people don't understand what refrigerant they have in their systems. If you have to ask, you'll probably get 1 out of 100 would say, okay, I've got R32 in my system. 99 wouldn't have a clue. So that would be a very important, at the end, to market that at the consumer, to get them to understand what R290 means ultimately. And I think there's a window of opportunity. But the link between importer and the end user is the installer, the contractor, that actually purchases the machine and then markets the machine to that end user. That's where we're going to find quite a rough road. We need to find a solution there. And training would have to be provided. So as an importer supplier, there's no reason that we can't get involved as an association, for example, but we'd have to go on quite an extensive campaign to get a mindset change. That's for sure.
Yeah. And let's talk a little bit about the technical and market challenges you face when scaling up the adaptation of R290 air conditioners. So what kind of support, such as like policies or financing or standards, would help accelerate the transition while, of course, ensuring safety and cost efficiency? We touched upon that, but maybe to summarize from your perspective.
On the policy and the regulatory side, that's something that we could always address and has been addressed. Because I don't know if we are aware, but the SADC countries are busy looking at a harmonized tariff as we speak now, which is going to be ideal for the sub-Saharan Africa, which is great. So and R290 is quite clearly addressed in that new harmonized tariff. So that's something that's important, and that's coming, and hopefully sooner than later. So that part will be fine. But on the technical side, obviously we just got to comply to what the MEPs are, and if the equipment complies to MEPs, then it's going to be marketed. If the equipment is, and the problem that we're going to have is the pricing issue. That's also an issue that needs to be overcome, because technically in the sub-Saharan Africa they want cooling. They don't really care what the COP is or the SER is. So there's a lot of challenges with regard to the global south.
Yeah. Thank you very much for that, and thank you everybody for answering these questions. I'm just I want to make sure, Midea, I have another question for you. So you already talked about your focus on your portfolio to focus on R290, and you are trying to increase the scales of R290 ACs. And I would be interested in learning how your or our partner countries can access these units.
Yes, so I mean, for us as Midea, it's pretty clear that we believe strongly in R290. We also say R290 for sure is not the solution for 100% of the ACs. There are some limitations currently, mostly because of the charge limit, and the multi-splits, for example, still remain to be seen what happens. But for single splits and many other products, I mean, now we've talked only about single splits, but if you look at dehumidifiers, portable ACs, or monoblock heat pumps, R290 is already like the standard solution, right? So there will be always R290, at least in the foreseen future. So we strongly believe in that, and that's why we also invested a lot of money. And since 16 years, we've been working on R290 as Midea. For us, if you want to cooperate with us, of course, the first option is direct trade. So you can, we have an international business division. You can directly purchase our market-ready R290 solutions. Another option is there can be customized cooperation. So if you reach out to our international business division, there are also possibilities to discuss about potential OEMs or like any specific needs. Of course, in all honesty, saying, like I mentioned before, this always depends on volume business, right? So every manufacturer will give you the same answer. If you can somehow bring a big market to the table and say, I can have such and such kind of units, then you can discuss much more. Otherwise, usually it will be talking about the standard units that are already available. But with the growing demand, of course, more options are possible. And having said that, in the long run, of course, we are also interested in localization projects. So if there are government stakeholders or other importers that see that there are some strategic green roadmaps where like some additional investment is needed or where cooperation is possible to have some localization of supply chains, we're also open for discussion for that.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. And to close the first part of our roundtable, I would like to invite Xiaoyan again, and just to highlight your answer to our first question regarding the coordinated actions. Just want to repeat that you said that for the R290 split ACs, from your perspective, it's the enforce charge limits, it's the high temperature adaptation, leak protection, and scale the low cost flexible production, and of course standardize the install and maintenance with local safety training. So thank you for already mentioning these, and thank you again for pointing out your 3 most urgent actions. So you said, if I understood correctly, that the partner needs to assess demand via data, right? And as we learned, it's important to localize the components and regional supply, and as well cut the costs for the modular and then scaling, and optimizing the high temperature efficiency, of course, always aligning safety issues, and then also launch low cost models and strengthen after sales. Thank you for that to Xiaoyan. And let me just ask you one last question to finalize our first round. So let's talk a little bit about the key technical challenges you encounter when scaling up the production and deployment of R290 ACs. And please let us know how you are working to address them.
Okay. And for us, expand the production and the deployment of R290 air conditioners with the core stuck in 5 technical checkpoints. Explosion-proof safety is the first one, and excellent air conditioning performance and high energy efficiency. And for production line renovation and installation and operation. And the last one is cost control. For a representative of Chinese manufacturer, we are breaking through the system through intrinsic safety design and safe development core components and upgraded exploitation-proof production lines and full chain training and modular cost reduction. And this is our opinions in this question. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. The needs to be explosion safe, right? While being highly efficient. And of course, the cost control, really important via intrinsic safety and in-house core parts, right? So you're really looking at the explosion-proof lines and as well mentioned the full chain training, yeah, touching every part of the chain and the modular cost reduction. Thank you for that. And let me thank you once again to CHEAA for making your participation possible. Much appreciated. Thank you for the translation. And now we are entering our Q&A session. So we would like to ask you, dear participants, if you have questions directed to CHEAA, just write them in the chat, okay? And we will work on translating these questions, okay? Because with this first session, we are saying thank you to Mr. Wang Fei and for translating from CHEAA. And right now, I am opening the floor for you, dear participants. Please raise your hand and I will invite you to enter the virtual stage, and please keep it brief. We have about 20 minutes left, many questions in the chat, so pretty precise questions are in need. Thank you so much. So, Lindsay, hydrocarbon, the floor is yours, please. Welcome. Well, you need to unmute yourself, Lindsay. Let's wait a second for you to find the button.
Hello?
Yes, there we go.
Okay.
Perfect.
I am a compliance certifier for the Queensland Government in Australia. I certify hydrocarbon systems. The only system that has met any compliance in Australia is York. I do not know why all the suppliers refuse to have their equipment tested. It's not hard. It's a very easy process. Australia does not accept a declaration as a compliance certificate. This is something people need to realize. The second thing, gas charge. We are restricted by the amount of refrigerant you can use in a system. Don't send systems with 20 or 30 kilos per circuit. It will not pass compliance. Modular systems, 10 kilos and small. If you want to build a chiller, modular is the way forward. Compliance, and safety. We run training courses on all international standards. It seems a lot of manufacturers fail in this area. I don't know why. We train around the country. We train in Africa. We train everywhere. So please, guys, if you're going to send equipment to Australia, we've just had the air conditioning show with ERA. There was not one compliant air conditioner there. I'm talking Mitsubishi. I'm talking Midea. I'm talking all of you.
Okay.
Husman,
Yes.
Panasonic, everybody. You
Thank you
failed
so
to
much.
comply.
Yeah, thank you so much, Lindsay, for highlighting the Australian market, and thank you for being ready, right? The question is directed to our stakeholders from the Roundtable. Does anybody of you has a clear picture of the compliance and the Australian market? Please just raise your hand, Roundtable participants. I see you. And let us know who wants to take this question. Maybe, yes, Manuel, please.
I mean, seeing that probably none of us here is an expert for Australia, including myself, so I will just take this question because it's probably very specific, but I mean, we're very happy to follow up. I don't know if there is any specific regulation regarding R290 in Australia, because you mentioned that the units that were shown there, they failed to comply. I'm not sure in what sense.
Okay, thank you. So I think, Lindsay, your urge has been noted, and maybe this is a good opportunity for let you know that if you have not done so, join the Green Cooling Network to connect. And after our summit this year, conversation will go on. So Lindsay, thank you very much. Let me add a follow-up question to you, Manuel, sitting in Stuttgart, Germany. So there's a question to you. So when Midea is committed to R290 split ACs, why is it still so difficult to get such units, for example, in Germany?
Yeah, I saw the question, very good question, and we get that a lot, of course. So the German split AC market, of course, is first of all, it's not very, very big, and it's quite installer driven. So we still see, even though we entered the market quite early, and we also got a dedicated certification called the Blue Angel for a split AC in Germany, that the installers are still quite hesitant because in the end, as I mentioned, also on the end user side, there is not a clear understanding about the benefits. So, I mean, this can be on us to be criticized why the people do not understand the benefits of R290, but also we see a little bit lack of some resistance in installers to change. This was also mentioned by Marco before, because they used to R32, you know, they have their equipment, and then for them to change to another refrigerant, and for them, which is potentially more insecure than the other ones, it requires quite some education. And yeah, for them to change that, because this market is by far driven from the F-gas in Europe, at least, you know, by the prohibition. So they tend to wait out until the last possible day and say, until that day, I will install R32. And once the prohibition is in fact, then I will switch to R290, but not before that. Not 100% of the market, but this is this is the fact of the market. That's why also in the beginning we said the policy is so important, because otherwise probably nobody would have moved in Europe so far if there would not been this kind of F-gas regulation. That's why it's so important. But I take this also as a criticism. I'm aware about the fact that it's definitely in Germany is a case where we could do more with the installers. There are some good initiatives, but for sure it's still not satisfactory, the level of demand of R290 split AC in Germany.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for your commitment, right? Thank you for being here and answering all these questions. And you see that our colleagues from CHEAA left our roundtable session. This is absolutely fine, and due to language barriers, they offered to answer the questions you write down in the chat to CHEAA afterwards. Okay, so feel free to address CHEAA and they will get back to you via the website. I would like to invite Komote to join us. Here you are, welcome. Just giving you a second to unmute yourself. And then once we see that you are unmuted, now, yes.
Thank you, madam. Mine is I would like to address the question on flammability of R290A. Remember, these are hydrocarbon, and because of its high rate of flammability, you will find that most trainees or technicians, especially technicians, will not be able to work freely because they fear in one way or the other the gas itself, the refrigerant, might cause cause some fire. So my question is, can the company be able to install some sensors that are able to detect leakage in the system, and then they can be able to trigger alarms so that now the people can be able to understand that there's a leakage somewhere and need to be fixed in time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, and thank you for highlighting the safety concerns. And I think your question perfectly adds to the point of raising awareness and changing the mindset, because as we all know, fear is one of our biggest motivation, and maybe by applying a sensor that always says everything is perfectly fine, your technicians would be more chilled, cool to install these units safely. So I'm really interested in our stakeholders' opinion regarding the safety concerns on the technician sides. Just show me your hand, unmute yourself if you want to quickly answer the question. Yes, Dou Yanwei.
I think it's a very good question and also very good point for safety using 219 in the market, especially in the market in the developing countries. You know, in China, we at the beginning we also worried about the installation or the servicing sector. You know, for the manufacturer, the safety is controlled in the factory. It's easier for them. But for the installer and also the servicer, it's too much people there. So I think the first point is let them know this is not this is a flammable refrigerant used in this product. And also, I think the training for the service sector is very, very important. I think the Mark also mentioned about this point. The training, in one hand, it will be improve the skill of the technicians to operate the product using the flammable refrigerant. In the another hand, it will improve their awareness, the safety awareness to handling this kind of refrigerant. And also for the product, I think for the 219 product, the sensor has already used in some product to monitor, to sense the leakage of the refrigerant leaked from the unit. I think it's a very important safety measure for the 219 product. Okay, so these are comments for the question.
Yes, thank you very much. Manuel, I'm sorry, I have to ask you to be brief.
Okay.
Yeah?
I just wanted to add, yes, like I agree with everything that Mr. Dou said. So of course, there are also refrigerant sensors available, leakage sensors. It's always a matter of cost in the end. So what I wanted to just to add is also this psychological perspective. Like Mr. Dou said, the training is the most important, because if you think about what people privately are handling with gas for their barbecue, for example, with butane, we're talking about different numbers. Nobody cares about it, right? But then when it comes to AC, everybody's super worried about these kind of smaller charge units. So there's also some kind of miscommunication, I think, a little bit. Also in Europe, you have millions of plumbers that daily deal with gas boilers, for example, which are potentially much more dangerous than working on a split AC, where the charge amount is really limited. So I really like the presentation from this morning from Daniel. I think it's very good if you can check it out later, where he talks about this psychological factor as well. So I think training is key, and really, if the installer is trained, it's not a big deal.
Yeah, thank you very much, and thank you for raising your question. I am going to turn back to the chat one last time in our session. And dear participants, please remember there are so many questions in the chat. If you see your favorite question, highlight it, okay? That improves the chance for the question to be placed in our discussion. Now I have a question to FECO, Ms. Lee. So we talked about policy incentives already, and the question is, what forms of support, such as policy incentives, agreed demand, financing mechanisms, or harmonized standards would be most helpful to governments and international organizations to accelerate global deployment?
Yes, thank you. This is a very important question, and it's a good question. I think from China experience, I would say there's no single solution. I would recommend a systematic approach. So it's policy combined with demand, aggregated demand, and financial incentives. So government can play an important role through policy signals. And for example, ambitious energy efficiency standard, HFC control measures, and green public procurement, encouragement of green consumption. And secondly, I think like financial mechanism are critical, especially for countries like global south, mostly the importers, the consumers. So provide incentives and to encourage customers to buy green products is critical. And thirdly, I think aggregated demand can be very powerful, especially at the early stage, because this is for the manufacturers and for the suppliers. Aggregated demand is easier for them to, practice, to provide service, and to ensure safe monitoring and safety use. Yeah, that's my answer. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Question to Dou Yanwei from CHEAA. From your perspective, what factors have led some companies to continue investing in alternative refrigerants and new blends rather than transitioning more rapidly to hydrocarbons like R290? And how can stakeholders better support a broader shift towards safe and cost-efficient HC-based solutions?
I think it's a not easy question to answer. Personally, I think for the companies, they especially for the room air conditioner companies, their target is to earn the business, the profit of the product when they sold the air conditioner to the consumer. So if the cost of the 219 is higher than the other refrigerant, the companies will selected to the lower cost product directions. So for my opinion, I think maybe we can do some education to improve their awareness on the environmental protection. For example, in China, I think maybe several years ago, the Chinese company do not care about the ESG. Do you know the ESG report? But now, I think every room air conditioner company in China, they focus on the ESG report of their companies now. Because during those years, the Chinese government developed a lot of propagate activities to the manufacturer. They should improve their activities to the environment. They should protect the environment. They should undertake the responsibility for the society. So I think we need a lot of work to contact the companies to environmental directions.
Yes.
So this is the primary thinking.
Yeah.
Not very deep. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. And I just want to read out a question, but you already answered it, and I would like to have it in the room. So the role of the distributors is underrated. They want to sell out their R32 stocks first. So how can we help them out of that trap? So you already mentioned the environmental path. Thank you very much. I would like to hand over to you, Marco Ferdinandi, and ask you what should be your most urgent needs for the companies like Midea, for local cooperation, for R290 ACs.
It's a good question. And I think it rolls down to basic business principles. At the end of the day, all the suppliers, manufacturers are all in it to make a profit. Let's not try and ignore that very important basic fact. It's about selling, it's about profitability, it's about, at the end of the day, typically in this world economy, it's about the fights for survival. So essentially, the most important thing is that the companies must keep turning, and that's not a discussion to be misunderstood. How R290 fits into that very important fundamental motivation is we got to find a solution that's going to help the business owners, the importers that are wanting to ensure that their businesses are healthy. We need to find a way to make sure that R290 contributes towards that success. It's fine ultimately to have all the nice feelings about the R290. We know it's important. We know that there's the transition to 290 is a real process, but ultimately we've got to find a solution to make R290 affordable. It's about a cost. It's about a selling item. It has to be market related. We cannot tolerate, we won't be able to absorb 20, 30, 10%. As we know, we're all in business and we're all in the same environment. It's all about cost at the end of the day, especially in the southern parts of South Africa or Africa as a total continent. I'm pretty sure in other parts of the world, there's different motivations and more educated motivations. And I'm not trying to be derogatory when I say that, but we are a cost-driven society in the SADC countries. We will not buy, and I mean this absolutely sincerely, we will not add 2% to a product because we feel it's going to make a difference in any kind of environment. That is a reality. So I want to break that down quite clearly. It has to be market related. Because as Manuel said early on, 99% of people do not know what refrigerants inside their system.
Mm-hmm.
We must fix. So incentives. That's the biggest stumbling block at the end of the day. Market acceptance price.
Yeah. Thank you, and thank you for finding such clear words on that.
Thank you.
So, dear participants and dear guests of our roundtable, it's already time to close our roundtable, and thank you for such a lively discussion in the chat and on the panel today. And I would just like to close this session by giving you the chance to find one word or one really, really short sentence to sum up your key takeaways for that session today. Manuel, let's start with you.
Okay, that's tough. Yeah, we're in this together, I guess. That's my key takeaway.
Thank you so much, Manuel Seethaler from Midea. What is it for you, Marco Ferdinandi? You're muted.
There we go. Be consistent.
Thank you so much. And Dou Yanwei, what do you take home? What is your last words for this session?
China room air conditioner sector will continue to go to the green solution way. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dou Yanwei from CHEAA. And last but not least, Li Changwang, please, your key message, your key takeaway. What is it for you? We have to wait for the connection. Sorry, you have to start again. We hear you now.
Yeah. So China's experience shows that the one policy, industrial innovation, financing, training, and market move, sustainable cooling technologies can scale rapidly and competitively. Thank you.
Thank you all so much. Thank you once again for that insightful discussion and roundtable. And thank you for asking so many questions. And I see that, Manuel, you have been answering some questions in the chat. Maybe the discussion will go on.